Classic Traveler. Book 1, Characters in Combat, 1977, First Edition. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lee. Welcome to the Lonesome Traveler. The focus was a little off when I recorded this video. I've corrected the problem, so hopefully it'll be fine in upcoming videos. Sorry about that. This evening we're going to look at the first part of the 1977 First Edition of Book 1, Characters in Combat for Classic Traveler. And when I say the first part, I mean we're going to look at the characters section. In the video after this, we will look at the 1981, right? Yes, revised edition, and see what's different about it. As you can see, there isn't much. But there are significant improvements in the revised edition, in my opinion. But that's a topic for another video. Then in the third video, not the next video, but the video after that, we'll actually roll up a character. And I'll use the 1981 revised edition for that. There isn't much difference between them, so if you're wanting to play 1977 exclusively, it'll still apply. Just use the tables out of this book because there are some minor differences. Let's crack this thing open and see what kind of fun things we can learn about characters in Classic Traveler. And I guess we better read the introduction as well. Alright, so what do we need? We need the Traveler books, 1, 2, and 3, the boxed set. We need 2d6. We need a pencil and paper to play the game. Now, we'll learn about this in later videos. I'm not going to focus on this too much right now, but it is worth noting that with solitaire play being so in vogue these days, it's worth noting that even back in '77, Classic Traveler was designed with solitaire play in mind. Those rules were in the game since day one. My cat is scratching in the litter box, making a bunch of noise. What are you doing, buddy? You could have pooped before we started the video, just like I did. Oh well. Let us continue. Alright. Characters. Character generation. Traveler's kind of a funny system as far as characters. Two things worth noting. It uses a life path character generation system, which I think is a really good way to go about it. All the systems that have life path generations, I tend to like a whole lot. Like Beyond the Wall and MechWarrior 3rd Edition and Cyberpunk 2020. I've never met a life path character generation system that I didn't like. And this has one. It may be the first one. I don't know. The other thing that's interesting to note about this game is that you don't earn experience points. Once your character is generated, it's possible to raise your skills, but it takes months of actual game time practice to do it, like while you're in jump space and stuff like that. But you don't earn experience points after character creation. You don't learn any new skills unless you specifically practice them. And instead, I guess you're supposed to improve your character through, like, gaining material wealth and status and stuff in the game. It's different. It's really easy to just discard that whole idea as ridiculous because we're so used to, like, games that have experience points and stuff, right? But I think it's worth considering, at least. I don't like it personally. I think it's good to have some kind of metagame advancement going on, because otherwise, you don't really have that much to work towards. You got to have a little bit of a Skinner box, you know what I'm saying? Just a little one, not one that's toxic or anything, but just enough of a Skinner box to kind of keep you wanting to play, you know what I'm saying? One thing that you can do two things you can do if you want an experience system in this game. You ought to try playing it raw first, of course. You got to master the game raw before you go, like, changing stuff, is my opinion. But once you've done that, if you want to add an experience point-based advancement system to this game, I think the two best options are to either lift the advancement system from Mega Traveler. It works pretty well with Classic Traveler. You can't quite lift it out whole cloth and put it in, but just about. And you can also do the same thing with the advancement system out of Cephas Engine, which is kind of an open source OSR retro clone-ish sort of game based on Classic Traveler. So there you go. All right. With that being said, let's get into it. We've got 6 stats in Classic Traveler. Let me zoom you in here a little bit so that we can better understand each other. You've got 6 basic statistics for your character. In Classic Traveler, you have strength, physical ability, brute strength, the dexterity, physical coordination. We're all familiar with all this so far from D&D. You've got endurance, which is your physical stamina, the same as constitution. You've got intelligence, how smart you are. Now, this is interesting. Education is a separate stat in Classic Traveler, so you can have the overeducated idiot. I think that's a lot of fun. And finally, social standing is an actual stat in this game. And I suppose if you had a DM that was up for it, that stat could change during play, based on what you do, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, you roll 2d6 for each of these down the line, and those are your stats. And then they change as we go on creating our character. And in fact, I have made a flowchart for you. Hello, Mr. Beefy. Are you done shitting? I can smell it. It looks complicated, the flowchart, not the cat shitting. It looks complicated, but don't worry about it. It isn't. It'll be fine. All right, so we have rolled our stats, and then every character in Classic Traveler is more or less a military man. There are merchant marines in there. I don't know if you'd call them military per se or not, but anyway. So the first thing you do after you've rolled your stats is that you choose a branch of the service to try to enlist in. And these are listed in the prior service table here. Mr. Beefy, I need to look at my book, and you are standing in front of my face. That doesn't work, buddy. We have so we decide which. Don't eat my pencil. These cost a lot. We're going to kick you off the bench here pretty soon, buckaroo. Mr. Hang on just a second, gentlemen. Hang on just a second. Mr. Beefy. All right. The cat has been snuggled until he got tired of it and left. Mission accomplished. Where were we? Right. We have rolled our stats. Then we look at our prior service table, and we figure out which branch of the service we want to enlist in. And there are 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Navy, the Marines, the Army, the Scouts, the Merchant Marines, and other. The Navy are the people that fly the ships. The Marines are the guys that shoot people. The Army are the general army dude. The Scouts are the ones that go out and explore unexplored sectors. And as you can see, they have the worst survival roll out of any of the branches of the service. The Merchant Marines are, the Merchant Marines, and other is like everybody else, like the ne'er-do-well, the criminal, etc. We decide which of these we want to try to enlist in, all right? And there is an enlistment roll. Each one has an enlistment roll. And you try to throw that number or higher on 2d6 in order to successfully enlist in that branch of the service. And as you can see, you get difficulty modifiers to those rolls. The bonuses are good. You add that to your roll. If you have statistics of a certain level or higher. So if I wanted to, enlist in the Marines, I would have to be very smart and very strong, right? Whereas if I wanted to enlist in the Army, you have to be, dexterous and endurant. Is that a word? Whatever. But not quite to the extent of the Marines. So you kind of pick your branch based on what you think you can enlist in. You throw 2d6 to try to enlist. If you fail, your enlistment roll, you get drafted into a random branch of the service, rolled on 1d6 right here. Immediately upon entering the service, for some reason or another, at age 18, you serve a term of service. This adds 4 years to your age. All right. After, we'll determine what you get out of that term of service here in a second. But immediately after serving your term of service, you roll to see if you survived your term of service. And that is our survival roll right across here. And you can see, depending on your branch of service and depending on your stat, gives you a bonus to that survival roll. So, some characters are going to be better suited to certain branches of the service, and you should keep that in mind when you're creating your character. All right. If you fail your survival roll, your character is dead. Go to step 1. That's one of the interesting things about Classic Traveler. You can die in character creation, and some people complain about this. I think it's interesting. It's a fun little mini game, as we'll see here below. There's kind of a gamble as to whether or not you should re-enlist, because there's always that chance that you'll die. Some people change that rule so that you don't die when you fail your survival roll. You just get injured or something and are forced to immediately muster out of the service. But I think that breaks the game. It removes that gamble each time you re-enlist. And when you remove that danger of actually dying in character creation, you might as well just keep re-enlisting and get all the skills and stuff that you can, instead of playing it safe and entering the game not dead. So if you do actually survive your survival roll, then you go and check to see if you got a commission or a promotion. When you first enlist, you don't have a rank. Your rank is 0. You're not an officer. All right? So we have to check for a commission in that case. We check for a commission each term of service until you get commissioned and become an officer. So there's a particular throw for that depending on the branch of the service that you're in, and whether you get a difficulty modifier to that if you've got a particular prerequisite skill of a high enough level. And of course the scouts and other don't have ranks, so you don't make these throws for them. But otherwise you do. And if you make this throw on 2d6, then you get a commission. You become an officer, you become rank 1. Your rank is listed in this table down here. All right. And then each term of service after that, after you've been commissioned, you check for a promotion, which is a whole different thing with different stats involved with the difficulty modifier. And if you make this throw, then you get a promotion and you gain another rank listed on this table down here. And you keep doing this. You keep making this roll every term of service that you choose to re-enlist. I don't remember. Do you immediately check for a promotion after you get a commission? I don't think you do. Let's check that and see. Commissions and promotion. Each service has a commission number. In order to be commissioned, a character must throw the stated number with the DMs on 2d6. Character acquires rank 1 in service. A character may attempt to acquire a commission once per term of service until he's successful, but may not attempt one during his first term of service if he has been drafted. I forgot about that. Yes, if you are a draftee, you don't get to check and see if you get commissioned. You have to wait until your second term. The same term of service that he is commissioned, and in each subsequent term of service, character may attempt to be promoted. Okay, so when you get your commission, you also immediately check for promotion. I should have known that, but I'm a complete fake, and I don't know this game as well as I claim to. And that, whether or not you've gotten a commission or a promotion, determines how many skills you gain during that term of service. So that means that if we successfully enlisted our first term of service, we could get our automatic 2 skills. We could get 1 more from getting commissioned immediately. And if we ended up getting promoted too, it's possible to get a whole 4 skills out of your first term of service. That would be very unusual, but it's possible. Every subsequent term of service, you only get 1 base skill point. and then you get another one if you get your commission and or promotion. Once we have figured out how many skills we roll for that term of service, then we go over here to our acquired skills table, and you decide which table you want to roll on. This advanced education table, this one here at the bottom, you can only roll on it if your education score is 8 or higher, right? So that's off limits if you're a grunt. Anyway, you decide which table you want to throw your die on. You throw your die on it, and depending on what branch you're in, you gain that skill. And if you gain a skill multiple times, you just get another rank in that skill. So, you can have ATV of 2 and blade combat of 1 and gambling of 3 and, tactics of 2 or something like that, right? And that's all A-OK. After we figured this out, we record it on our character sheet, then we apply our aging effects to our character. As your character gets older, assuming you survive, your stats have a chance of going down. Where is this table? Aging effects table, right here in 1977. Now this only starts happening on your after your 4th term of service at age 34. All right. So what you have to do then, when you determine your aging effects, is you throw 2d6 on each of these stats that you have to check, and if you fail that throw, your stat decreases by 1. And if it goes down to 0 at any time, you have a health emergency of some sort. You have to immediately make another throw, and I can't remember what it is. Oh, I should have read this before I did this video. It's been a good while since I've actually played this game, and I've forgotten a lot of stuff. All right. Right. So when you're, if as a result of aging or combat, aging or combat, the characteristic is reduced to 0, the character is considered to be ill or wounded, and you roll an 8+ on 2d6, and if you make it, the character recovers. You age by 1 die. You roll a d6 and add that to your apparent age, and this is your biological age now. This game's funny in that there's like you can get cryogenically frozen for long space voyages and stuff like that. So your actual age can be like 100 or something, but you are like physically 30, right? So you got to kind of keep track of those separately. And the characteristic that was reduced to 0 automatically becomes 1. And this occurs each time one of these characteristics is reduced to 0. And it's possible to die here. I think 3 stats have to be reduced to 0. I may be full of shit on that. If I am, correct me in the comments below. But that's in the combat section. What happens when you die? And it's not entirely clear, but that's the way we played it. Anyhow, right. So if you survive aging, you decide whether or not you want to try to re-enlist in the service for another term. And to re-enlist, you try to make your re-enlistment throw, and you have to make this throw even if you decide that you don't want to re-enlist, because it is possible that you are forced to re-enlist for some reason. Now, generally, a character is free to leave the service or remain for another term depending on his desires and goal. Blah 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 blah. You make your re-enlistment throw. If the throw is not successful, your re-enlistment is denied, and you have to immediately muster out and or retire if you're old enough. But if you throw a 12 exactly, the needs of the service require that the character serve another term regardless of his desires, and you have to re-enlist regardless, and make your survival roll and all the rest of that one more time. Or maybe 2 more times if you roll a 12 twice. Oh, who knows, right? Anyway, so you re-enlist how many ever times you want to or have to, and you go through this loop, gaining more skills and trying not to die each term of service until you decide to or are forced to muster out and / or retire. And in mustering out, you get benefits from the service. Mustering out. Let's check retirement first here. It's listed first in the book. A character may serve up to 7 terms voluntarily and retire at any time after the end of the 5th term, assuming you don't get forcibly reenlisted. Retirement grants a person an annual retirement pay in addition to your mustering out benefits, which is nice. Rates of retirement pay are shown in the retirement pay table. I'm not sure where that is. It's here somewhere. We'll find it later. Service beyond the 7th term is normally impossible, and retirement is mandatory. However, persons who throw 12 exactly on the final reenlistment throw have to serve an additional term of service because wartime or whatever. All right, additionally, you muster out. You leave the service for any reason. You're eligible for mustering out benefits. The 2 mustering out tables indicate the nature of these benefits. Table 1 provides travel, education, material benefits, while Table 2 provides cash severance pay. Each table is matrixed by service and a single die roll, blah, blah, blah. Character is allowed to consult these tables based on total terms of service and your final rank. 1 benefit roll is allowed for each term of service served. Additionally, the character who has reached rank 1 or 2 receives 1 extra roll. Character who has achieved rank 3 or 4 receives 2 extra rolls. Character of rank 5 or 6 receives 2 extra rolls and may add 1 to his die roll when consulting Table 1. Any character who has acquired the gambling skill may add 1 to his die roll when consulting Table 2. A character is free to choose whether he consults Table 1 or Table 2 or both, and in what proportion. But in no case, is a character allowed to consult Table 2 more than 3 times. So you can't become a millionaire. You can get 3 cash allowances, and all the rest of them have to be on the material benefits table. For example, blah, blah, blah. All right. So that's how you muster out. You get 1 for each term of service, 1 roll for each term of service that you've served. You get 1 or 2 extra ones determined depending on what your final rank is when you muster out, and you can't roll more than 3 times on the money table. And so you can get a bunch of different things here. You can get bonuses to your intelligence and education. You can get weapons. You can get low passage. That's when you get cryogenically frozen in the hold and transported somewhere. You can get high passage. That's when you are in the fancy times. You get middle passage, which is for normal people. You can get a membership in the Traveler's Aid Society, which is really nice to have. We'll talk about that later. You can get 1 of your social ranks. You can get a ship. I think that's what that is if you're a merchant, which is really good, but almost impossible to get. See, this is a 7, so you can only roll a 7 if you roll a natural 6 and have a rank higher than like 4 or something like that, so you get that +1 when you're rolling on your table of material benefits, so it's almost impossible to get that. If you try to aim for that during character creation, I guarantee that you're going to be disappointed. If it actually happens, consider it to be a pleasant surprise. And after that, our character should be complete. We're ready to start dying in other ways than character creation. Beautiful. So we've got a bunch of skills here listed. Let's go over those. The skill mechanic in this game is pretty much you roll 2d6 against a certain difficulty class. You get a difficulty modifier based on various criteria, but the skill system isn't necessarily like unified. Each skill's kind of got its own little rules. So it's not as samey as like D20 is or something like that. So anyway, we've got our skills and benefits here. We've got character weapon expertises, different types of blades and polearms. When you get like blade combat or gun combat as a skill, or you get a blade or a gun as a material reward when you muster out, you have to pick a certain one, right? So yeah, there's a list of those. Basic skills listed here: bribery, gambling, forgery, administration, that's bureaucracies, streetwise, leadership, tactics, These are different. Leadership is like being able to lead men, and tactics is be able to lead like platoons, right? Forward observer, that's when you're calling in artillery fire. Being a spotter for artillery fire. Vac suit is maintaining and using space suits. Air raft is like they're these open-topped 1970s style like grav sleds that kind of like the speeders in Star Wars. That's the skill to pilot those. ATV aren't just like little four-wheelers and stuff. That also includes like giant armored APCs and shit like that you can drive around. Computer is used for dealing with computers. Ship's boats are like the larger, not the air rafts, but they're like the pinnaces and stuff, like the landing craft that you would have in a great big spaceship. That's smaller ships. Mechanical is what you'd think. Electronic is what you'd think. Pilot is what you'd think. Navigation is what you'd think. Gunnery is not for like hand weapons. That's for like ship's guns. Steward is performing the duties of a ship's steward. That's like your cook servant dude, right? Engineering is what you'd think it is. How is this different from mechanical? Mechanical is for devices like small stuff, and engineering is for like maintenance of starship drives and power plants and shit. Medical is what you'd think it is, and jack of all trades is a funny skill. The individual is proven capable of handling a wide variety of situations and is resourceful at finding solutions and remedies. I've got to take my glasses off. That text is really small. That's a funny one. It's described a little better in the revised edition. It's nice to have. You can roll it for anything you want, but it's not as good as having the actual skill. Alright, we talked about the retirement pay, the travel allowances, the different kinds of passages. We talked about the Traveler's Aid Society. You can purchase that too, but it's really freaking expensive. Material objects like weapons. Starships, you can get a ship if you're a scout too. I didn't realize that. I guess I've never had one survive character creation. Right. Scout ships are described in book 2. It'll be a little bit, but we'll get there. Anyway, right, there's our rank and service skills. Some skills accrue to a character automatically without the necessity of throwing for them and without using up eligibility just by virtue of being a specific service, a specific rank. So you get these skills in addition to everything else if you're a specific service and rank. I forgot about that. Character generation example. We've got the usual character generation example of fat ass Jameson here. I don't know if it's worth a read or not. I think it's easier to understand the procedure outlined here than to try to follow this, to be honest with you. Anyway, and that ends the character generation section of Book 1, 1977, first edition, Classic Traveler. I don't think there's any character sheet included with the first edition. If there was, they were separate sheets in the boxed set and didn't survive this particular box set that I've got. But if you need a character sheet, this will be for the revised edition, but we've got Supplement 12, Forms and Charts. It's in the beginning here somewhere. Yeah, there's a 2-page character sheet that you can print out for that, and there's also a character generation data sheet that you can use as you create your character. That can be pretty useful too. Additionally, I believe in the revised edition, there is a character sheet somewhere towards the middle that you can copy. Yeah, there's a 1-page character sheet in the revised edition. So, that concludes the first part characters, Book 1, 1977, first edition Classic Traveler. Question is, do you need this book? I'd say, in my opinion, that depends. All right? If you just want to play Classic Traveler, my personal opinion is that the revised edition is far superior to the first edition. They added some stuff that they kind of forgot, like taking cover in combat, and the character generation is a lot more clear. There's actually I think there's a character generation outline in here that you can just follow while you're rolling your character. It's way easier to read. It's written a lot better. In all ways, in my opinion, in all ways other than nostalgic ways, superior to 1977 first edition. However, if you are a collector, obviously you need a first edition 1977 boxed set. That goes without saying. And if you want to play Traveler as it was in the beginning, in 1977, in ye old days, which is a perfectly valid way to play. I'm not dissing on that by saying that I like this one better. I'm just saying, if you want to play that way, then this is the one you want. But otherwise, for just playing the game, Revised Edition's better. All right, that concludes the video. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, I could use your support, but not in the way that you think. The main way that you can help, if you want to, is to help me collect the rest of the books that I'm missing out of the Classic Traveler set. I'm looking for GDW stuff, I'm looking for Judges Guild stuff, I'm looking for any of the third-party stuff, anything for Classic Traveler. If you look down below in the video description or in the podcast notes, if you're listening to this as an audio podcast, you'll find a link to a web page that has a list of what I've collected and what I haven't. And if you've got some old Classic Traveler stuff sitting in a box somewhere that's doing you no good, that I don't have marked as already collected on my list, hit me up. You can figure out how to get a hold of me through that same web page. So thanks. I appreciate you watching. Have a great